Let's move on to the NFC South. NFC South Division is going to be an interesting one. Now, it's very top-heavy with one particular team because obviously we have Mr. Tom Brady, who is going to be playing until he's 115 years old. If you tuned into our show before, we've had plenty of things to say about, gosh, he just keeps coming back. He's like that. He would survive a nuclear blast with the cockroaches and still be absolutely effective doing what he does. Let's just put it like it is. But we're going to touch on this. Let me get to a couple more comments in the chat before we dive into this one. Also, guys, by the way, thank you guys for being here. If you're new to the channel, my name is Chris. This is Scott. We are your host for the Action Lab. We do a lot of entertaining sports content every Wednesday and Sunday, so make sure you guys tune in. Hit that follow button so you know when we go live. And we're doing previews. We're doing fantasy football leading up to the season. We have contests coming your way. Free to enter that you could win some cool merch and everything else. So make sure you join all that we have going on. And I'll put the social. Reckoning, can you put the socials back in one more time? And the Discord. So you guys can join all of our socials and our Discord. Let's see. We're getting bad news. Mason Rudolph is our best QB, says Reckoning. Oof. Let's dive into that once we get into the NFC North, or AFC North.
We'll get into that tonight. And I'm excited to talk about it. I really am, Rec.
Good. Maybe time to get home better before you get on the Lions. No, you'll be fine. If Jurassic World decides to take place in Colorado, I am riding in the Russ truck, says Broncos.
Have you seen Russ Wilson's truck?
I have not, actually.
I mean, that is a dude that's overcompensating for something. Okay.
He likes. I haven't seen it. Is it like a monster truck?
Oh, it's so built out with like, it's so ridiculous because he's literally never taken this thing off road. I guarantee you, and it's so built for off road, Chris. It's embarrassing, actually. It's embarrassing.
All right,
so but everything Wilson does is kind of cheesy and embarrassing. But maybe he'll play good at quarterback, and nothing else matters.
He'll be fine. I'm not too worried. Money Magic. I really like the Saints. Olave.
Yeah. Olave, Thomas, and Landry.
That's how
wide
you say
receiver
it.
Core. Chris, that's what I thought. Okay. Yep. All right. Fair enough.
That's where we're starting here. Olave is there in. I always do this. I always skip over what we're looking at from the top of this division. So, in this division, Tampa Bay is the favorite, minus 270 to win this one, and they're by far the favorite outright to win this one. So, Tampa Bay Buccaneers minus 270. The New Orleans Saints are right behind them. So, we're talking about them right now, plus 350 in this one. Could be some decent value there, by the way. Just throwing that out there. Carolina comes in at a distant third at plus 1,000, and the Atlanta Falcons have no shot. Sorry, Atlanta. Plus 2,500. They are similar to what you would see with the Texans on that kind of value scale when it comes to winning the division. So this is Tampa's division to lose, and everyone else's division to kind of surprise some people. So diving into this one, I think that there is a lot to be. Come on, man. There's a lot to be interested about with the Saints. Now, they haven't had a terrible team in the past. I mean, they've had nice little pieces. Now, all right, so you got Jameis Winston, who high ceiling, high risk, high reward. Anytime you have Jameis Winston, you know what you're getting, and it's like Bitcoin. Jameis Winston is like investing in Bitcoin because you never know when it's going to peak at 60 million, 60,000, whatever, or drop to 20,000, right? Like he could be all over the map, but when it's good, it's good. So you always have that ceiling. Alvin Kamara is a big one. He's going to be missing most likely the first part of the season, if not a lot more, based off of some of the altercations that he got into off the off season with some legal issues. Not a great situation for them. And they have Mark Ingram, old man Mark Ingram, journeyman behind him there. So, whatever they can get out of him, I guess. Michael Thomas, Landry, Olave are all going to be in there. Outside of that, I mean, Ryan Ramczyk, right tackle, he's fine. You know, he's going to be okay there trying to protect Jameis Winston. But there's been a lot of injuries with a lot of these. Michael Thomas, injury. Jameis Winston, injuries. Alvin Kamara, missing time. And then you got some young kids. Jarvis Landry, he's had some injury issues. I think there's a lot of depth issues here for the offense that you just can't. That's my worry for this Saints team, is staying healthy, because they have had a lot of issues with that in the past. So you mentioned this Honey Badger coming back to New Orleans. Yes. You still got Cameron Jordan on that defensive line as well. So, Scotty, what do you think here? Marshawn Lattimore is actually in the back as well. I mean, what do you like about these New Orleans Saints?
What is super weird, I think a lot of people in the media are kind of high on the Saints. In general, you got some pieces returning, and a team that won probably more games than they should have last year. But maybe that was due to the coaching staff, which, by the way, Sean Payton was the head coach. Here's what's weird to me. No one talks about everyone loves Sean Payton. They say that he's an elite head coach. He leaves the Saints. They hire their defensive coordinator, Dennis Allen, to take over. And no one's talking about that. Like, that's not a big deal. Like, you're losing one of the best coaches and an offensive mind coach in Peyton, and moving to Dennis Allen. I'm not saying Dennis Allen can't be a good coach, but we don't know as a head coach. And he's a defensive minded guy. They added Matthew and Marcus May at safety. And Dan the Man Sorensen, by the way. They also added Daniel Sorensen, which is hilarious. Because he's good. But like, we'll see what Michael Thomas is. It seems like Michael Thomas has been out for 8 years now.
Oh, he's been out forever.
You're right. You added Olave. You got Landry, though, that you did sign. But Landry, like, Cleveland was very willing to trade for Amari Cooper and move on from Landry. So I don't know what that's about. I don't know how. I'm so confused by this team and conflicted. Like, is this a team that's going to compete for anything as far as the Super Bowl? Of course not. Can they compete for a playoff spot? Maybe. I kind of like when you went over the odds, Chris, and we'll get into all these teams. And it's not to say I love this team, but the odds you put on Carolina. If I was to bet a team to win the division in this division, it'd be Carolina, just on the odds you put. What was that, like?
Plus 1,000.
Okay. 10-1? 10-1 on Carolina. If Tom Brady gets hurt, Carolina might move to the favorite. I'm just saying. And Tom Brady's 87 years old, as we addressed in our quarterback rankings. So there's some concern that at 87, you could hurt yourself. Dennis Allen was horrible on the Raiders. Yeah. Like, it's so weird to me that no one's talking about that. You talked about the Kamara. Kamara's going to be their single greatest offensive player they have.
Absolutely.
He's going to be gone for the beginning of the season. Like, there's a lot of concerns there. I don't like the Saints very much this year. I really don't.
I mean, they lost Ty Montgomery, Trevor Siemian. They lost to the Bears, who, they did have that quarterback.
They lost Trevor Siemian?
Trevor Siemian's gone. Sorry, guys. Breaking news.
It's over, guys. Wrap it up, Saints. This season's done.
But yeah, I think there's a lot of questions with the Saints for me that I don't know what I'm getting on the field. It terrifies me in fantasy football to draft any Saints at all. Maybe outside. Well, even you take away Kamara, and even I think Jameis Winston loses some value. Like, and I just think that
for sure,
it's hard for me to have that ceiling for Jameis Winston anymore. So
and the wide receivers are a weird fit because Jameis likes to throw the ball down the field, and that's not who Michael Thomas and Jarvis Landry are. Like, that's not. They're more underneath. Like, get the ball, try and get some yak. Money Magic Taysom Hill. Oh my goodness. Don't get me started on Taysom Hill. That dude. Oh my gosh. The Saints paying Taysom Hill is continually shocking at all times, Chris.
It's
the money they're paying Taysom Hill. Their GM should be fired on that account alone.
Dennis Allen was horrible with on the Raiders. Saints are a good team for Madden. LOL. Cuban Benny, Tom Brady was the most famous person at his high school reunion, other than Moses. He is old. Yeah. It's true.
Moses was. I mean, and it was close. Tom Brady, Moses went like back and forth on who was more popular and famous, but Moses eked it out.
Andy Dalton, though. All right, so
they got the Ginge. Congratulations, Chris. Real quick, I am going to kick us off.
Code yellow, spam code yellow in the chat, guys. Guys, anytime one of us gets up and has to take care of business, we spam code yellow. Keep that rolling in the chat. So there you have it. By the way, let's go ahead. Scotty just mentioned the Carolina Panthers. I think that's a great transition into the next team on our list. That is a very interesting team. So actually, wait. Before we do that, let me just double check the Saints. The win total for the Saints is over 8.5. Guys, do you like over 8.5 for the Saints? Now they're plus 105 to hit that over. 8.5 wins. I'm still struggling to get there. It's a scary bet for me, knowing it's the same bet as an argument as I have with anything on fantasy football for them. I just can't get there. I can't figure out a way to just gamble with my money to think everyone's going to be healthy and they're going to be able to keep the production going without their number one offensive weapon, Alvin Kamara. It's hard for me to get that over 8.5, which is why I think this is even money. Saints have a 6 defense, so they do. They have a decent defense. They can't. I mean, the Saints can beat the Bucks every year. They beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers every year, so there is that. You can't argue with that. So over under 8.5. I'm gonna leave it alone. If I had a lean on it, I might pick the under, man. I might pick the under, knowing they're gonna have some struggles. But I mean, overall, I think they'll be. Yeah. Let's see. I got echo. Hold on. I don't know where that's coming from. Let me fix my audio or something. Was it echoing the whole time, Reckoning? Have I been echoing for a while? So I was talking about the over/under 8.5. 8.5 for New Orleans.
On the Saints?
Yeah.
I take the under, Chris. I mean, I wouldn't. It's probably not one of my top bets, but if I had to make a bet on that, I'd take the under.
Got it. Yeah, I would. That's what I said a little bit ago too. Just there's too much.
We're always on the same page, Chris.
Too much uncertainty for me. But Carolina's popping in here next. You mentioned Carolina a little bit. Over under 6.5 is plus 105, and I don't hate the over on that one. Now here's the big thing with the Carolina Panthers. You got nice little additions, right? You got a little guy to call it Baker Mayfield coming in. And let's just say, we've talked about this a lot. He could be the best quarterback in that division. Let's say there's injuries to Tampa Bay. Tom Brady catches up with him, his age. Man, all of a sudden, this is Baker Mayfield's division to lose, realistically, right? I mean, they have a huge opportunity. So obviously Christian McCaffrey is a big question. Everyone's kind of like terrified. He's like the guy that you like dread to drop to you in fantasy football, right? He's like on the board and he's coming your way and you're like, please don't drop to me. Please someone else take him so I don't have to make that decision. Well, then he drops to you. Then what do you do? Because he gets hurt quite a bit. DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson are still wide receivers out there giving Baker some love. Sam Darnold obviously will most likely be backing up Baker Mayfield. But this is an interesting team. Get into the chat. AK is going to be gone for however long. Alvin Kamara. Yep. Scott's decorative game is strong. Small picture next to the smaller picture on the wall.
You're right. I don't have a lot to say on that. You're right, Broncos. I need to work on it. I haven't.
Smallwater Fishing, welcome in. How are we doing this weekend? Hope you're having a great Sunday. I've seen Andy Dalton play many times back in high school. I live out in Katy High School.
Katy.
Yep. Has always been powerhouse school. Yeah. That's pretty sweet, H-Town. I love that.
Nice.
Love it. So let me go back to some of the things about the
Panthers. The
Panthers.
Great and powerful Panthers, Chris.
So they drafted Matt Corral. They drafted a nice little quarterback there because obviously they don't have enough quarterbacks trying to figure out who's who. They added Rashard Higgins from Cleveland and Deonta Freeman from Tennessee. So and key departures. Cam Newton.
I mean, never mind. I used to think the Panthers might be a good bet, but they lost Cam.
But I think the biggest interesting piece with this team will be how DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson, they took a dip because, I mean, obviously quarterback has been a deficiency in Carolina. They haven't had a decent quarterback at all. So to be able to have a quarterback that might be able to actually put the ball in some spots where they can go out and get it, I think that could be big. Obviously, Rashard Higgins. I mean, I think there's a nice pieces there. They put a nice little investment in Ian Thomas to come in and play tight end. So I think that there could be a nice little upswing for the Carolina Panthers in the division. You said plus 1,000 might be interesting. They won't necessarily win the division, easily, but I do think they have a nice little edge when it comes to consistency with some weapons on offense, and the quarterback play I think could help them a lot this year that they didn't have in previous years.
Chris, I tried to pay attention to what you were saying, but I'm just sitting here. Cuban Benny's like the decorating motif is prison cell, talking about my background. That's gonna do it. Now I'm a single track mind now. I'm devoted to. The problem is, as I've said before, is quite frankly my wife, and I'm shocked my wife keeps up that Mario Chalmers. That's a Mario Chalmers picture, by the way, when he tied the game against Memphis back in the day when Kansas won a national championship like they did this year. Anyway, I'm sure she keeps that up. She works in here a lot and gets on a lot of, those Zoom conference calls or whatever. No, I know what those are. Anyway, but now that's all I'm going to care about, Chris. I gotta improve the background. It started when we started this stream. A lot of people gave me shit, and I know it's bad. It's bad. I get it, guys. I'll work on it. I promise.
If you guys got ideas for Scotty,
I have a background that looks better than my face, which is almost any background except for this prism motif, then it takes attention away from me. So I'm trying to focus on my face with you guys. Anyway, Carolina. Yeah, great team. You could argue, listen, I'm not a huge Baker guy, but Baker, when healthy, I think can be pretty good. I really, really do. Oh yeah, football wife. Robbie Anderson changed his name to Robbie. Did you say that, Chris?
I did.
Robbie changed it to Robbie. He's like, I like it better with an IE.
Some people have way too much time on their hands. I'm just like, what are we doing here?
I hate you so much.
What are we doing?
I mean, who cares how it? Okay.
He's not even big enough. He's not even big enough for me to like make that like part of my daily.
Like Robbie Anderson.
He's fine.
Like
he's
not.
You
don't just get the right to change your name.
Maybe if he's a top 5 receiver in the league, I'm like, okay, maybe I'll pay attention to what he's got going on when it comes to his personal, like his name. But you're too low on the totem pole for me to like for that to matter.
It almost bothers me more that he has the same name and he just changed the spelling. That actually bothers me more. Anyway, you could argue, Chris, in my mind, Carolina improved at the quarterback position, and this is how I feel about Sam Darnold more than anything. Maybe second in the league. You could argue second. I don't know if they're there. You could, Indy with Matt Ryan from Carson Wentz. But Baker Mayfield over Sam Darnold could be the biggest upgrade outside of your Denver Broncos, Chris.
That was the up there.
Yeah, I'll say that's one. It's fine. Anyway, so this Carolina team started off really nicely last year, got some injuries. But let's keep in mind their first round pick in the draft was a corner out of South Carolina that I'm drawing a blank on. He got hurt in like week 3 or 4. Didn't come back the rest of the year, but he was taken right above your Broncos. Patrick Surtain as a corner is going to be a nice piece. If Baker's healthy, I think he can put the ball accurately. Listen, I know he's not elite. His arm strength is questionable, but here's the one guy who's won a playoff game in Cleveland in the last 25 plus years. Since they've been a new franchise in Cleveland again, he's the only one with a playoff win. All right. So here's a guy that can get you in the playoffs. Now, is Carolina a threat to do anything? Of course not. But you get huge upgrade at quarterback, and you get a healthy Christian McCaffrey with those weapons at wide receiver, which are really nice, by the way. Yep. And the defense is not elite, but they're not bad. That defense is okay. I don't know. I like them as a long shot to win the division. I don't think they'll win the division without injuries to Tampa, obviously. But if Tampa gets some injuries and opens the door, I think Carolina is the second best team in this division.
All right. Well, speaking of Tampa, let's go ahead and see Tampa where they're at when it comes to their win total and see what they can bring to the table when it comes to this division. And that over-under is set at 11.5. That's plus 105 on your money. So almost even money there. So 11.5 wins in this division. Not a great division. So they do lose to the Saints, regardless of who's playing for the Saints. So they lose 2 games to the Saints every year, right? It's pretty standard. So
doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter who. It could be Taysom Hill. It could be Drew Lock. It could be any of them. But they'll lose to the Saints no matter what. So 11.5 is their over/under. Scotty, do you like that number? I mean, I feel like in a division like this, it's obtainable. What do you think?
I wouldn't bet it either way, but I'd lean under.
Okay.
I mean, I kind of feel like there's, 11.5 seems about right, but that's a big number. With a quarterback that's obviously aging. You got Chris Godwin coming off. He's not going to be healthy to start the season. I already spoke on Julio Jones. That dude cannot be relied on. No offense. They just lost Ryan Jensen, their center, which is a huge piece on that offensive line for maybe the whole season. Or if not, a significant portion of the season. I don't know. Like, this team kind of just doesn't seem imaginative. They just keep running it back and aging a little bit more and a little bit more.
Well,
I'm not excited about this team, quite frankly.
They're not as flashy as where they were when they won their Super Bowl with getting all of those free agents and all the big names, and they were doing their best. I mean, Brooklyn Nets impression or Lakers impression, trying to put together all the big names. Now they're trying to just piece it together, and I feel like it just get the vibe that they're struggling to do so. By the way, welcome in Casually Average. Howdy, how's everyone? Yeah, we're doing great. How are you doing tonight? So, I mean, you mentioned Julio Jones. I'm looking at their depth chart currently on ESPN. Julio Jones isn't even one of their top 3 in the depth chart. He's like secondary. He's second string behind Evans, Godwin, and Russell Gage.
But Godwin's not going to start the season.
True.
So.
Well, true. But I mean, even still, they still have Julio.
Julio's starting the outside. Gage will probably start in the slot.
Now, does Julio offer a little bit more, size and some potential? Yes. I don't think you're getting the Julio Jones from his heyday when he was like literally crushing in Atlanta. You're not. There's no way.
Oh.
He's those days are past. And I think, they've lost some guys on defense. I mean, they still have Shaq Barrett, a guy we love from Colorado State, came from Denver, and he's been, awesome out there. They have some nice pieces on defense that will be fine. They'll keep them in games. Antoine Winfield. They got some aging players, Levante David, and, some guys that have been around the league for like ever. But you know what? I mean, they still have Tom Brady, speaking of being in the league forever. And, he's Leonard Fournette. That overweight issue is kind of in the past now. I mean, they've kind of slimmed. They've talked about him slimming down, and he's in a great spot now. So other free agent departures. They lost Ronald Jones, OJ Howard, Rob Gronkowski retired. Then they, again, added Russell Gage. Draft additions, Rashad White, Cade Otton. So, I feel like they haven't blown me away with what they've done in the offseason.
They're a worse team than they were last year. One, they aged a year. And two, just losing Gronk alone is a big deal with Tom. Like, Tom, that's a safety blanket. They signed recently, oh my gosh, Kyle Rudolph, who is a vet tight end out of Minnesota, but he's an aging guy. I don't know if he's a difference maker anymore. And he's not going to be the blanket that Rob Gronkowski, who Tom has played his whole career with, basically. Now we'll see if Rob stays retired, but the fact that they added Rudolph lends itself to believe that, maybe he's retired for good. They lost JPP and Ndamukong Suh on that defensive line. Those are aging guys. I get it. Not huge losses, but some pieces nonetheless. Listen, this team is worse than they've been in the last 2 years with Tom Brady, but Tom Brady's the quarterback, so anything's possible because he's the luckiest human being to ever grace the earth. That's not even a hot take. Tom Brady is the luckiest man to ever step foot on planet Earth.
I'm telling you, I've been on my avocado tequila drinks recently, and I feel so much younger. By the way, I feel like I'm gaining life back year by year, just another one each and every single time.
Another one.
Nice. It's great.
Because real quick, Chris, I'll ask you this question in the chat. This question regarding Tom Brady: is he the most talented quarterback? Not even the most talented. Is he the best quarterback as far as talent plus ability plus reading defenses in the history of football, or is he just the most successful quarterback in the history of football? I mean, there's no doubt he's the most successful quarterback in the history of football when you look at team results. It's not, and so to call him the GOAT is totally fine because of the results he's put with the team-oriented side of it. But there is no way that Tom Brady's the best quarterback to ever play the position as far as making elite throws, doing elite things. It's bizarre to me. I don't know how to explain it. I don't think I explained it well there, Chris.
It's a hard one because you obviously have to think about, and maybe this is a whole nother topic for a whole nother show of breaking down his legacy of what.
I'll drink to that.
It's breaking down his legacy of how much New England and Bill Belichick played into his success versus how much he played into, he was the big factor in a lot. I mean, there's so many hot takes out there of Cuban spamming hot take. Yeah, there's a lot of opinions about what Tom Brady success-wise versus. I mean, we're talking about a guy who's won as much as he has. We're going to allude to another guy who won a ton, and his name isn't thrown around, and that's Bill Russell. Rip Bill Russell, who all indications he won and was the most successful champion, arguably, in NBA history. But he's not mentioned with Jordan and LeBron and a lot of those guys. And obviously, you can compare different there's debates that you can have back and forth with a lot of these, I think. And when it's all said and done, maybe when we're older, Scotty, when we're old and gray, we can have some of these retrospect when some of these other players start playing and
what do you mean by win, Chris? Turn to your side on your beard, and if my beard was out further, it's also gray. We're old and gray, Chris. We're old and gray.
But yeah, so I'll let you get to the chat. We are gonna wrap this section up, and I have something coming up here. We've been talking a little bit about it, alluding to it, and I want to make sure we're good to go. So I'm gonna take a quick code yellow, and I'm gonna come back. We're gonna hit a Why It Matters. If you haven't hit a Why It Matters with us before, make sure you do. And then later on, after we get to the next AFC North and NFC North, we want to come back and get you finish out the show with a coming in hot that you will absolutely not. Scotty has texted me, and we were talking about it via text about how this is one of his most exciting fired up, coming in hot that he's had, if not forever, in a long, long time. So,
I mean, yeah. The team, everyone teed this up for me, so it's nice. Everyone's already spamming code yellow. I could say it, but everyone's spamming code yellow in the chat as Chris takes a quick break before we get into his Why It Matters, which I'm super excited about. I think this topic is perfect for Why It Matters, and I'm excited to hear what Chris has to say on that topic. As we reach the halfway point on the division previews tonight, we've now kind of covered the AFC South and NFC South. We're also, after Chris does his Why It Matters, when he gets back, we'll cover the North divisions. We're going to do NFC and AFC North before diving into my coming in hot, my Stephen A. Smith thing, and we'll see where we go from there. But love you all. Yeah. What do we got going on in the chat here before Chris gets back? There's too many Brady and Jordan debates. To be fair, Chris brought up Brady and Russell, which is different. I agree. Listen, well, to me, Brady and Jordan is not comparable so much to me, but that's just me. We won't get into that. Totally correct. Tom Brady's skill set is perfect for an accountant who mouth kisses his calculator. Also mouth kisses his sons when they're 12, which, listen, I don't have a kid that's 12 yet, so maybe that's normal. I don't know. Reckoning. Wait, did we cover Atlanta, or am I already senile? Holy cow, we did not cover Atlanta. Chris, we have not covered Atlanta.
Oh, my bad.
What are we doing here?
Is it bad that we just said...
And then somehow we got a sub right after that. Thank you, Diacola.
Diacola, 11 months?
11 months.
Wow.
That is older than your youngest child, Chris. Diacola has been subscribing longer than your youngest.
Thank you so much, Diacola, for the 11 months. That means the world. Thank you. Come on, man. Sorry. Kleps. All right.
The Atlanta Falcons exist. All right, we're done.
All right, Atlanta Falcons. Over, under.
Yes.
Let's do the win total for the Atlanta Falcons. Slap action lap. See, that's a complete slap. There.
I'm so excited to get to some other things, and I'm like, do we have to talk about Atlanta?
Atlanta. Well, their over under is 4.5. 4.5 for action.
Is that really? That's a real over under.
That's the real over under for Atlanta on FanDuel Sportsbook. Minus 120.
This is the worst team in football.
This might be the worst team in football. So let's talk about them real quick, because we still want to get to two more divisions. So there's not a lot to like here. Obviously, Matt Ryan is no longer there, and they're trying to figure out how they can stay competitive, and they won't be able to. I mean, we've talked about the Texans, and we've talked about some of these other teams, but realistically, the Atlanta Falcons are in a world of hurt coming this season. So, some of the key additions, Marcus Mariota, obviously, is going to be leading the helm for them. And then key free agents, Damian Williams from the Bears, Brian Edwards from the Vegas Raiders, Anthony Fursker from the Titans, and Damiere Byrd from the Bears. Now, they lost Russell Gage, Hayden Hurst to the Bengals, and then they drafted... here's the big thing that they're looking forward to is their draft. Drake London, Desmond Ridder, the quarterback, third-round pick for the Atlanta Falcons. So he's going to come in. You had some nice things to say about Ridder pre-draft. You thought he was, had some traits maybe.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a long road ahead for the Atlanta Falcons when it comes to this division. They're not going to be competitive. You saw the over-under total. They're not going to be in the mix for anything big. Cordell Patterson's a running back. From a fantasy perspective, maybe you can kind of, lean, but it's what you believe in Marcus Mariota when it comes to the fantasy output for, London and Edwards and, some of those guys. We did, all right. I'm setting myself up.
Mm-hmm.
Olamide Zacchaeus is their third receiver. Remember we did the game that we played, and that was the third receiver, and we were like, we have no idea who that is. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. They have Kyle Pitts, tight end, nice bright spot there, but again,
very bright. Very bright.
That's about it. Scotty, I mean, we could keep this quick.
Listen, I think the Falcons bringing on Mariota should start for like a week. And then just put Ritter in and see what you got in Ritter, because quite frankly, your team's bad. Let's see what you got in Ritter, because you're going to have a high draft pick, and you probably should take a QB with your first round pick, which should be top 3. I'd be shocked if they're not drafting in the top 3 next year. This team is not good. They're on either side of the football. You talk about like weapons wise, they drafted London in the first round. That's a nice piece of wide receiver. Calvin Ridley, obviously suspended for this whole year due to betting on his team in football when he was out with an injury. Beyond that, so you got London, you got Ridley moving forward. You have obviously Pitts. Those 3 alone are like elite. So figure out what you have with Ritter. You're probably drafting a quarterback in the first round next year, I would suspect, to move the needle there. And I like that they waited and didn't reach on a quarterback this year in the draft and just took a weapon for that quarterback in Drake London, who is potential to be an elite guy, not elite speed, but a playmaking. Like he doesn't even have to be open. You can throw it to him and he'll make plays. That's a nice feature to have. Cordero Patterson somehow is still on this team. I don't know. There's not a lot to say about the Falcons. We'll see how Arthur Smith as a new head coach looks and how he does. He says that Ritter is light years ahead of most young QBs, which is, I don't know what that means. I mean, I know what that means, but I don't care about you saying that. I just want to see it on the field.
I don't know what's funnier is the fact that we just overlooked Atlanta completely,
completely,
or clept. I don't know, probably the under. Like very subtle, and just saying after all of our analysis, after everything we said,
under on 4.5.
I don't know, probably the under.
that means they have to go 4-13, Chris.
Like, oh my goodness, I don't know what to say anymore.
Reckoning now wants us to say something nice about the Falcons.
I did say something. I was like, I love Drake London, and I love
Kyle Pitts is their best player. I love Kyle Pitts.
Yeah.
Pitts is a monster and going to be a monster at the tight end position this year.
Yeah.
Like fantasy top for me. It's hard. It's weird, Chris, because we're going to be in a league with some of these people and I'm just handing them what I think.
Guys.
So it's going to ruin my team, but I think Pitts is certainly at worst a top 4 tight end in fantasy this year. I think probably higher.